I was walking down the street one day and these guys in masks just grabbed me off the street and put me in their car and held me for a good 2 weeks or so and basically made me their sex slave. Getting to the destination, I don't remember any of that. I just remember waking up in a basement on a mattress with
Tell me your name.
my name is Tandra Monaco.
Where did you grow up?
I was originally born in Aurelia, and my family and I moved to California when I was 2 years old, and I was raised out there for 17 years. My mom basically just wrote me off. I been on my own since I was 12. So my mom was a plastic surgeon, and she basically just tried to buy my love. She was never really there for me at all, and she was more concerned with men and her job.
Okay.
So she was never really there for me at all.
So before 12, how do you describe your childhood?
It was really rough. My the man that I used to call my dad my whole life turned out to be my stepdad, and he used to treat me like shit. He sexually assaulted me my whole entire childhood, and I couldn't figure out why. When I was very young. I don't remember if it was definitely before 5 years old, so I'm going to say maybe 4.
What happened?
He would rape me and beat the daylights out of me. And like I said, I could never figure out why the man that I called my father would do such things to me, but it didn't make sense until I was told that he wasn't my dad.
Does your mother know?
Yep, she knew about it, and she just turned a blind eye. That's why she just would try to buy me. And
She knew from the first day, or when you were 4 or 5 years old?
she knew what was going on the whole time, and she's just so wrapped up in herself that she just turned a blind eye to it.
So that happens how often?
It happens every day from as far as I can remember until I was about 12 years old. And then I left home.
Mm-hmm. You never told any friends or teacher?
I never told anybody, no. At 12 years old, that my stepdad wasn't my real dad. My real dad had passed away when I was 2 years old,
Okay.
which is very not even close to being true. Because when I came to Canada, I actually was united with my biological father, and he's not a very good man at all whatsoever. He's heavily into drugs, and he adopted the girl that he raised as his daughter for a Christmas present 2 years ago, even though his flesh and blood is sitting right here. The only time he'd ever call me was for drugs or anything like that, so I don't really have any father figure in my life.
You got 12 years old. What happened?
When I was 12, I left and I was in the streets of LA by myself. And
yeah, tell me more details about that part.
I ended up with the wrong man who led me down a awful path. He was also very abusive, and because I wanted to feel loved, obviously I tolerated it, because even though it wasn't the way someone should be showed love, but the fact that how do I explain it?
So how do you know him? How do you met him the first day?
He was actually my neighbor, and
How old is he?
he was 5 years older than I was.
17. You
Yeah.
were 12.
Yeah.
Okay. Then what happened?
I stayed with him until I went to prison, and that was the biggest mistake of my life. Was meeting him was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Very abusive. He would beat me day in and day out, but it was a form of affection in my eyes. Like, as sad as that is to say, I would have rather. I didn't actually know any better. I was abused sexually and physically by my stepdad growing up, so it wasn't anything new to me. So, in my eyes, the way I took it as, even though you're hurting me, but you're still showing me. It's hard to explain. Just the acknowledgement, I guess. Even though it wasn't proper acknowledgement, it was still something.
Yeah.
And I just held on to the fact that maybe he'd change, or maybe something would give somewhere down the line, but it never did. When I was 16 years old, I was uh, charged with a pretty heavy charge, and I spent 7 years in prison. My ex had done something, and I happened to be there. I had no part of it, but I took the charges for him.
16 years old, you went to jail for 7 years.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the jail.
I don't even know where to start. It was the absolute worst experience of my entire life. I've never seen such horror. The way that they would treat us, they'd take us out of our cells at night and they'd fight us. They'd make bets against us. They would choose. They put me in the hole for a year, which is absolutely illegal.
So tell me, the first day you went to the jail, how do you feel?
I was beside myself. I was 16 in prison with all these convicted murderers and all kinds of stuff. I was a kid. I was mortified. I didn't, but I was more petrified of him had I not taken those charges. So
So, is there any abuse during the prison time?
there was tons of abuse. The guards would pull some of the women out of their cells, rape them.
The guard are men's?
Yeah.
So the women prison, they're men's there.
Yep, they have men correctional officers. Yes.
United States.
Yep.
Okay. So there anything happened to you?
I was fortunate enough that way. No, but they did used to pull me out of my cell, and they'd make bets on me, and they'd fight me with other inmates. And it's disgusting how they treat us in there. And like I said, they put me in the hole. They'd pick and choose when I would get to eat. I'd go weeks without food. I wouldn't be able to go outside or anything like that. It was awful. And I spent 7 years enduring that.
Okay. So when you get out of there, you were 23.
Yep.
Yeah. So what happened?
So I was escorted to the airport by 2 federal marshals, and they flew me to Toronto International, and they dropped me off, and they said, "Have a good life."
Okay.
Basically, mind you, I hadn't been here since I was 2 years old. I knew nothing about Canada. I really didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know where to run.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I started getting into drugs and everything else, because I lost everything. I lost everything I've ever known.
23 is the first time you use drugs?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I had smoked weed and stuff growing up, but then I wanted to forget everything that I had been through, so I started doing harder drugs to try to numb my pain and make me forget all the horrors that I had been through.
Okay.
I met somebody, and they happened to be a drug dealer, and I started selling drugs. Just was walking down the street one day, and he asked me if I did any type of drugs or anything like that, and I had told him that I had started dabbling in it, and he asked me if I was able to get rid of stuff, and I said, yeah, I can. So I started working with him, and that's literally what was my means of survival. Not that I'm proud of it by any stretch of the imagination, but I was so hurt. I just wanted to forget everything. Well, obviously I'm not a bad looking person, so I've had a lot of men come my way that, try to get with me, and I shut them down, and quite a few of them, because I've shut them down, have just taken it upon themselves to take it instead. As awful as it is, I can talk about rape like it's an everyday occurrence. It's actually really disgusting to think about, to be honest. But
You mean you're talking about the rape?
yeah, I've been raped multiple times for the simple fact that men don't like to be rejected, so they've literally just taken it upon themselves to try to take it from me, and it's not fair. It's not fair at all. I've been kidnapped and raped. I've been held hostage, and I was walking down the street one day, and these guys in masks just grabbed me off the street and put me in their car and held me for a good 2 weeks or so, and basically made me their sex slave. And if I tried to run or scream or anything like that, they would just beat me.
How old were you?
This was last year, so I was 27.
In Toronto?
No, in Barrie.
In Barrie?
Yeah.
How many men?
6 of them.
Put you into a house for 2 weeks.
So I was walking one night. It was probably around maybe 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
By yourself?
Yeah, by myself. And a vehicle approached me, and before I could even realize what was going on, I had a bag over my head, and I was in the car screaming for my life, and then something hit me in the back of the head, and I was unconscious. I don't remember the car ride. I don't remember getting to the destination. I don't remember any of that. I just remember waking up in a basement on a mattress with a dog bowl with water in it and just nothing but a mattress. And there was about 4, maybe 5 padlocks on the door. There was no way for me to escape. Screaming, yelling, kicking, screaming. Nothing mattered. There was absolutely no way that I could get out of that room. And once they heard that I was awake, and this was basically the same thing that happened day in and day out. Almost every hour on the hour, somebody would come in and they would sexually assault me. They'd shoot me up with drugs.
Sorry, from the first day?
The first day.
Yeah, so what happened
the first day, somebody came in. I don't know who these men were. I didn't recognize them, and I was so discombobulated on whatever they were giving me that everything was just fuzzy. And one would come in, assault me, leave, and then another one would come in, assault me, and leave. And I want to say there was about 4 or 5 of them that would do it constantly, every day. most of it's very fuzzy, but I think there was a couple of times where there is actually more than a couple of times where they all did it at once. When I ended up leaving that place, I actually had to go to the hospital for stitches because I was completely destroyed. As they were done, they would shoot me, and I never used needles in my life. That was never my thing when I was doing drugs, but they would shoot me up so I'd be completely unconscious. So when they would come in, it would all be just a blur because I was so out of it that my vision's fuzzy. But, and actually, you know what? As sad as it is to say, I will say thank you for them giving me the drugs, because the amount of pain that I would have had to endure had they not done that would have been extensive, if it wasn't already extensive enough. But yeah, every day for 2 weeks. 2 by 2, they would do it. 4 by 4, they'd do it. 1 by 1, they would do it. Every hour, on the hour. And I had no say in it. I couldn't control it.
So what do you eat and how do you go to the washroom?
They had a bucket in the room that I was in that I had to go to the bathroom in. And they'd feed me just pieces of bread or whatever. They just throw it at me like I was a dog.
Is there anyone ever talk to you?
No. Never once. Except for to shut up or move this way or lay this way. And that wasn't even really a spoken thing. They just picked me up and throw me whatever direction they wanted me to be. All they would do for about 2 weeks. And I knew the only reason I was able to count the days was because there was a duration where I would actually become sick because they were sleeping or whatever they were doing where they weren't giving me drugs to be unconscious. So I'd actually end up being dope sick. So I know that there was a period, which I would assume would be nighttime, that they weren't coming in. So that was how I was able to calculate the days that I was in there for. And when I did, I'd start throwing up. I'd start having to go to the bathroom really bad because I'd be in withdrawal from how much they were giving me to keep me quiet. Because if not, I would just scream and pound on the door and try to get out and fight for my life. I actually really thought I was going to die in there. But I'm lucky to be here, actually. I don't know why I'm still here, but I'm here.
But last time you said when you get out from a balcony.
Yes, I
but
did.
It's not a basement. How that happened?
So one day, a new guy came in, and I didn't recognize who he was. He was a younger kid. He was somebody that I hadn't seen before during all the prior times. And when he left, he forgot to lock the doors. So as soon as he left, they had, like I said, they had given me a literal dog bowl for water, and it happened to be one of the metal ones. So as soon as he left, I grabbed it and I walked up behind him, opened the door, and he was about to go up the stairs. And I hit him over the head with it as hard as I possibly could, and it knocked him unconscious enough for me to be able to make a run for it. So I ran up the stairs, and when you got to the top of the stairs, there was a bedroom over here, from what I remember. And then you went around about the staircase, and it went to like the basically like the front foyer type thing. And what I thought was the front foyer, I didn't realize that it was a second floor. The way this, I don't even know how this house was set up for it to actually be a second floor. It might not have even been a basement that I was in. It could have been the first floor, but because of the way it was set up or how fucked up I was, I just didn't see anything else, which everything was dark, so it's also very possible. But I went around the staircase and I seen a door, so immediately I run for the door. Well, it was a balcony, so I just full tilt jumped off the balcony. I didn't hesitate. I didn't think about it. I just jumped. I ended up with a sprained ankle, and I just took off running. I didn't look back. I still don't even know where this house was to this day. It was not in any area I've ever walked through. It wasn't in any familiar place I've ever seen. I don't know how long it took me to get down to, I made it down to the bus terminal. I don't know how long I was running for. I don't know. I have no idea, but I made it down to the bus terminal, and apparently I just collapsed. And someone had called the paramedics. I don't know who, but someone called the paramedics, and I ended up in the hospital.
The police didn't question you.
I didn't answer any questions to the police, no. I ended up with 16 stitches in my ass and 14 stitches in my vagina. They brutally mutilated me. As fucked up as it is to say, thank God that they did give me whatever they were shooting me up with, because it helped with the pain, and it helped me get through that awful situation, as sad as it is to say, but I don't wish that upon my worst enemy. First time I got raped was, I don't know if I mentioned prior, but my ex-boyfriend was murdered 2 years ago in February. And the reasoning behind his death was because I had rejected somebody. Someone had asked me to go out with them, and I had told them no, I had a boyfriend. And that wasn't the answer that they wanted to hear. So he ended up just taking it instead. I went to go meet somebody to drop them off something, and this guy was there. I didn't think anything of it. I had met him prior. He had asked me out. I said no, I had a boyfriend, didn't think there was going to be an issue. Well, he had slipped something in my drink or something. I still don't know to this day how he managed to get me unconscious to rape me, but he did. And I remember it was at one of my good friend's apartments too. I had no idea where she was, which was odd because she was always at home. And I found out later on that she was actually unconscious in her bedroom. She was there the whole time, but she didn't know anything was going on, and I didn't know she was there. And I remember walking through her living room to her kitchen and her bedroom. So the living room is right here. You go through the kitchen, her bedroom's right here. There's a bedroom right here, and if you walk straight, there's a bathroom on the left-hand side. So I don't remember walking from the couch, but I remember briefly standing in the kitchen and then branching to the left to go into the spare bedroom. And I woke up with my pants down, blood all over me, and the guy was gone. And when I was in the kitchen, that brief moment, I remember him escorting me to the room. So I knew and he was the only person there besides myself. And like I said, her, but I found that out later on.
Why blood?
Because he had raped me so brutally that I had bled everywhere.
Okay.
I also ended up with stitches that time as well. And so once that had happened, I had told my boyfriend what had happened, and obviously he was not impressed at all, and he wanted revenge on the person that had done it. Well, I guess he went to go address the situation, and they shot him dead.
He was a handgun.
Yeah. And when they shot him, sorry, I shouldn't say they shot him dead, but this is a story that I'm getting because I wasn't there. So one was they'd shot him dead, and then the other one was that he was given fentanyl and he didn't do fentanyl, and then his mother found him dead the next morning. And then he was on life support. Those are the two stories that I got. I'm not entirely sure which story is true, but it's one or the other. I have a funny feeling that his mom, well, actually, I don't know. I don't think I'll ever know what actually happened to him. And it's sad because he was my best friend.
Then when your boyfriend got murdered, then the guy still
So,
bother you?
yeah, he actually, I put my pride aside so I could try to figure out what had happened to him, of course, like any person would that gives a shit about somebody. And, my boyfriend's street name, he went by Lokes. And, he actually, he took me to a place to go drop something off, and he actually introduced me to his friends as my dead boyfriend. Like he was like, "Oh, this is my friend Lokes," and when I found out that he was the one that actually had done what he had did, and he bragged about it actually, saying that he murdered him and this, that, and the other, and now you got no choice but to be with me. I never got with the guy. I actually don't even know what happened to him. I haven't seen him for about a year or so now. I mean, I'm not the best looking person in the world, nor do I pretend to be. I don't think I'm anything more than the next woman. I like to empower women. I want to see women succeed. I want to uplift women. I don't want any woman to ever have to suffer the way that I have. But when you're not eye candy, I guess you're in the shadows and people they don't notice you. Whereas if you stick out like apparently I do, it's the consequences of being a pretty girl on the streets, I guess. And it's not fair. I didn't choose to look this way. I didn't ask to be born this way.
So how long you be with your boyfriend? So
My boyfriend now, a year.
So anyone bother him?
No, no. He's had his fair share of trials and tribulations. Don't get me wrong, but
What do you mean by
uh,
that?
his ex was also murdered about the same time mine was, 2 years ago. She was given a bad batch of dope, and by the time he got there, they were already wheeling her out in a body bag. So that was something that him and I unfortunately had in common, but it kind of brought us together a little bit in a strange way. Um, but no, ever since I met him, he has not let a single person even look at me wrong. He knows the pain that I've endured. He knows how hard my life has been. And he refuses to ever let that happen to me again. And for that, I'm grateful because I've never had anybody stand beside me as much as he has. No matter how much I piss him off or try to push him away because I feel like I don't deserve it because of everything I've been through, I feel like I don't deserve to be happy. But he tells me otherwise.
Tandra, tell me your plan. You are very unique because you're not only kindness, you are get clean already.
Yeah.
So tell me your plan. You don't tell me you don't have a plan. Tell me. Think about it right now.
Well, I want, like, I actually have, I have my cosmetology license. I can do hair and I can do makeup. That's not what I want to do with my life. I would really like to be a counselor. Like I told you prior, I've been to prison. I don't want to see young kids have to go through what I went through. If I can stop that before it happens, I would love to. I love to go in and out of prisons and, group homes, stuff like that, and be a counselor because I've been there, I've done it, I know what it's like. I can relate to these kids, I can relate to people that have been through the hardships that I have, and I want to be able to help people. I don't want people to ever have to suffer what I have. So that would be my ultimate goal, is to try to become a counselor or a social worker or anything along those lines, just to be able to help people.
Do your boyfriend have any plan to how to help you guys get off the street?
Honestly, no. I mean, getting clean was the big one.
Yeah, very.
That was the major thing with, and getting clean on the streets is nearly impossible. It's, most people don't make it, but the drive that I have and that he also has been enough to at least make us make that step. And then housing is the next thing. And then from there, like I said, I would really like to go to school to become some type of counselor for either youth or adults, either one, and try to help people live a better life and not make the same mistakes that I did. Because I've been through hell doesn't mean I have to act like an animal. Yeah, I've been to prison. Yeah, I've been beaten beyond belief. I've been shot while I'm down, so to speak. I've been drugged through the mud, but if I change my morals and my ways, then I'm no different than anybody else that's hurt me in my life, and I can't bring myself to be that type of person.
Thank you very much for the story.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for listening.